Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Joe Panther III, and welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. Man, 2024 was so much fun. So many legends, so many wrestlers, so many indie wrestlers. But we're in 2025, and I have a young lady right next to me that she is fighting the good fight. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to the original Jersey girl. Welcome to Dudes at Ringside. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Joe. Happy New Year. I'm very excited to be here and happy to kick off this new year. Fresh start, new us. And thank you for having me on today.
Awesome. So if my fans from the UK, countries from England, Scotland, Portugal, and halfway across the globe, if they're not familiar with you, and why would they not be? Introduce yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you if you haven't met me. My name is ALICIA. Started my pro wrestling career many moons ago in the year 2000, and I wrestled from age 13 to my 20s. I've been able to work for a lot of different places, specifically, Ring of Honor for some time, Shimmer, Jersey All Pro, WSU was a big East Coast sensation over here, and I stopped and retired in the year 2007, and then had another comeback. Because once wrestling's in your blood, it's really hard to get it out of you. And now I'm back here to talk about a couple of different things, my history, and then also some new fights I'm up against. So it's nice to meet all of you if you haven't met me yet. And hi, welcome to the New Year kickoff show.
Awesome. And as you can see above our heads, besides her awesome pictures that I put into the collab poster, but we are in season 4. You guys are in for a treat. Season 4, the fourth year of this internationally known juggernaut. I hate to say that about myself, but juggernaut that people from halfway across the globe had a chance to grace on screen as Kiara, Shorty, Alfie, Joey Conway. The names go on and on. Paul Bowe, but we're with ALICIA today. So ALICIA, who trained you in the beginning of your wrestling career?
Excellent question. So it's kind of a funny story. I was in 8th grade and I had always loved wrestling. And my mom said that if I did really well on these standardized tests for private school, she would let me go touch a wrestling ring. So she brought me to IWF, which is Camp IWF. And the head trainer there is Kevin Knight. So I joined there just to be a manager. And then somehow I ended up getting trained to be a wrestler. And once I started running the ropes, even with welts on my back and continuing to do so, I loved it. Kept showing up, kept going. And that was kind of the start of my career. And we had our first, at the time, there was something called Glory Wrestling. We had our first Glory Wrestling show, and it was at the camp. And Kevin Knight said, "You're wrestling." And I said, "Okay." And I wrestled Alice in Danger. So that was a very interesting time, but that's how it got started.
Wow. So after you had your training and then you got to your first match, like, what was going through your head? Did you know it was for you, or were you like at that curtain before as the ring announcer was calling you, your music was playing, what was going through your mind?
Let's do this. And there's nothing like that moment you just described before going through the curtain and then finally getting through the curtain. It just turns on. It was the marriage of entertainment and then also athleticism that just made it happen. And also I was really fortunate that my wrestling school had trained a lot of other really good people that were supportive and had that fire in me. So Darren Young came from my wrestling school, Damian Adams, Ref Bennett, who's in WWE, Ref Danilo, who is in WWE. I've been fortunate to be around a lot of really, passionate people, and they helped rub off on me a lot.
Yeah, it sounded like your school was stacked. It was like one of those schools that, like, did you, like, because back in the day, you can admit it to, like, I said it before live, I say YouTube, but 16 or 17-year-old Joe, even 8 or 9, would Joe would say, YouTube, like me in front of a TV? No, YouTube, like we're watching in videos. What's that? Mom, I'm scared. This man's talking about something called the YouTube. Get him away. So how did you find your school? Like, was it in a phone book? Did someone tell you about it?
That's an excellent question. So back then, yes, we still were using phone books. I think the internet had just started coming around, but it was, I think my mom had heard of it through a friend, and we had gone there just to take a look. And speaking of that time, what we would do after every show or after even training is we would watch VHS tapes of our matches and of our trainings to see what we did right, what we did wrong, and also watched, classic wrestling to be able to learn from it. So I think it was just word of mouth, honestly, because there weren't that many places in the game at that point. It was Gino Caruso's ECPW, which is still excellent. I mean, I've worked with him before too, and he's a great guy, but IWF was really my heart and soul. And that's what got me started. And I'm lucky because I was 13 when I started. So, so sweet. I was 13 when I started, and I was very fortunate to be surrounded by a group of men that were very, very respectful. And you can't say that a lot about a lot of wrestling schools at that time.
Yeah, it's hard because back in those days, you really have to dig, or you have to know someone to get to find a school. It was not like it's the internet. You could just type in wrestling schools and you get a Wikipedia of everybody that does it. You have to be in those little circles or those little chats. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's no joke. You had to really find your way to get there, because I mean, now you can see everything. You can find, reviews. You can have podcasts like this. These things, weren't around. It was like the newspaper. Like I was on like Channel 7 News as a feature as young wrestlers, and is this safe for them? And that was kind of it back then.
Yeah, it's insane. So let's go a little further in your career as beloved, because everybody's watching it now because AEW has part of it. What was it like to work for Ring of Honor?
I have to tell you, I've always been more of a wrestling personality than actual wrestler. Listen, I can get in there, but I'm not a high flyer. I'm not a crazy act. But I have a big mouth, and I was quite entertaining. So being able to work for Ring of Honor was incredible. My time there was very precious to me. Sarah Del Rey was a huge, huge, huge influence on me. I think Shimmer was really what catapulted my ability to get into Ring of Honor. And then just the relationships, and that experience was crazy. I remember that they figured out that I was on my first Ring of Honor show. I wasn't advertised, and my mom was actually in line, and she had always come to all my shows. My mom's my biggest supporter. She came to almost every single show that she could, unless, she had to travel far for it. She didn't come to the Insane Clown Posse show, you know what I mean? But she was at the Ring of Honor shows. And the fans would see her online, and they were like, oh, Alicia's going to be on the show. And that was kind of the giveaway, but it was a great experience. They treated me very well. And also they brought a lot of light to women's wrestling at the time when there wasn't. So women's wrestling now is very different than it once was. It now has a lot more of a spotlight on it. Women are more respected. Back then we had to hit hard and fight hard because the fans were right there, and they didn't believe that women's wrestling was real. So we had to prove to them that it was. And, took a lot of battles. So the Sarah Del Rey's, the Mercedes Martinez, the Jessica Havoc's of the world have really taught me well.
So what was the worst hit you've ever taken in a wrestling ring?
Oh, I can tell you that. So in paying my dues, there was a show in Connecticut once. It was a tag team match. It was myself and Cindy Rogers against Mercedes Martinez and April Hunter. And I have to tell you, I got snap-mared and kicked in the back about 50 times. Oof. And that was the worst, because at the time it's, you get, you pay your dues to get in there and to make sure that you're going to stay and make it. And between Mercedes and April Hunter kicking me, love them now. I got respect out of them from that match, but that was by far some of the hardest hits I've ever taken, for sure.
Yeah. We got the fans blowing up the Dominican flag. Yeah. I'm Puerto Rican, but okay.
All right. Let's go DR. Let's go PR. I'm all about
everybody.
it.
We love everybody here. Everybody. Yeah. So I don't know if you noticed that April Hunter's in the intro.
Yes, I did notice that. And I noticed that she pulled her hair to one side. You know, when I started wrestling, one of my goals was to wrestle April Hunter. And then I got into that match. And I was like, well, it still hit my goal, but then we worked together many, many more times. And she's cool. She's awesome.
It's amazing. I got her through a friend. There's one other podcast guy. He's like, I can get you April Hunter. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then he said, make a room, send me the link. And I'm like, okay. So I said, what time do you need? 7:45, mic check. It's been like that for 4 years now. And I'm there waiting. I'm like, this person's not coming. Boom, she pops in. I'm like, oh my gosh, April Hunter is right there. Her interview. We had fun. We joked. She's a huge nerd like me. She'd be like, I am a nerd, Joe. You're right. You don't have to pussyfoot around it. We know. I'm like, I'm a nerd. I'm like, okay. So I saw pictures of you like taking bumps, like bleeding. So
yeah,
was that a frequent thing for you to like the blade, or like did you not really like doing that kind of stuff?
So it wasn't until later in my career I wrestled Luna, and then there was some bloodshed there that wasn't necessarily intentional. I remember there was one part of the match, and listen, Luna was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, where she took a metal shovel and hit me in the back of the head without me knowing it was going to be happening. But I took it because I loved her, but not intentional. But then once I got into WSU and that was established, we had a really good feud with myself and Jessica Havoc. And that's where the blood, sweat, and tears really started coming out. I mean, we had matches all around entire arenas. We had the first women's War Games match where there was bloodshed, and I ended up, hitting her in the forehead with a fork, so getting some blood back and forth. But
shovel.
Yeah, it was what a time to be alive. But it was worth it. It wasn't my favorite thing to do. Luckily, I have no major scars from it. The biggest probably scar I have on my face is from actually headbutting somebody for real, and I think it was Jessica Havoc, and I have makeup to cover that up. But other than that, came out pretty well, except I broke my nose like 100 times.
Oh, geez.
My nose just kept getting broken. I took a Shining Wizard on my second year wrestling. I took a Shining Wizard from a guy. We're not even going to give him the credit of the name. But I took a Shining Wizard right to the face with his shin hitting me right here. And I broke all the bones here. And I was going to my high school with, 2 black eyes for a month. And then I got hit in the head with a cookie tray by Boogaloo at NYWC and got another bloody nose and broke my nose. And then one other time I took a brain buster and my knee caught my nose and then broke my nose again. So,
oh, geez.
Yeah.
I may have seen you when I grew up on Long Island going to NYWC. I know Foxy.
Oh, Foxy! Throwback.
Foxy. Oh, shout out. She was my very, very first interview on Dudes at Ringside podcast.
Really?
She was our very first wrestler. Me and and Vinny is my number one fan. Mr. Vinny. There he is. Mr. Vinny. Good guy. Love him. Good people. But Vinny was Foxy was my very first interview. She pretty much, for me, she unscrewed the proverbial wrestling door and left it to the side and just to look back and say, hey guys, check them out. And then the wrestlers just started coming.
That's awesome.
Coming through the doors, and ever since. Foxy. There's the other one that was there. Foxy. There was the one that worked with that crazy tag team, the guy that was the fisherman. I don't know if you remember him.
That's the guy that kicked me.
Oh my God. Jeez. Oh no. Yeah. He was
Ken Scampy.
Yes, Scamp. Do you remember his manager?
Tara Charisma.
She disappeared off the wrestling world. Do you remember that?
I do. And I do remember I had a lot of matches with her in the beginning, and then she just vanished.
There was like some stories that she,
magic.
one day she went to practice, and then she just didn't come back to practice, turned off her phone, and never came back.
Listen, Joe, I hate to be honest with you, but I don't think it was a loss.
Yeah. So let's get back onto the fun topics of my lovely guest today. So we'll go a little further in, and what was your last match? What was it like for your very last match? What were you going through your mind? Or like, what?
So kind of crazy. My last match, I came back. Also, Rick Cataldo, who's the boy diva, also came from my wrestling school, and he's very big into the gay pride community. So he does drag shows / wrestling. And my last match was against Chris Steeler, who was also from IWF, at one of these events just like 3 years ago. And it was at a Matter of Pride. And I remember going into it thinking, this is so different. You know, the way a locker room operates is so different. The way the show goes on is still the same. So once the bell rings, that's it. You know, you're in there. But I remember thinking, I really hope I can do this. And it's a really funny thing. Wrestling is kind of like riding a bike. So once you get back in it and you go through that curtain, it kind of all comes back to you. Not just the moves, but like the passion. It never goes away. It's like a bug you keep forever.
So it's tough to talk about this, but I know you said you wanted to talk about it. Let's explain to my audience what you're going through right now.
So now I'm going through the greatest fight of my life, and I'm totally open to talking about this because I think awareness is one of the most important things. This past October 1st, I was diagnosed with triple negative metaplastic breast cancer. So just to give you guys an idea of what that means, triple negative is a super rare type of breast cancer where it's not hormone receptive, which means treatments are more harsh. It has a higher reoccurrence rate. And only listen, I always knew I was special, Joe, but only like 10 to 15% of the population get triple negative cancer, which makes me, part of that special group already. And then on top of that, it's metaplastic, which means that it's basically cancer cells that are just within my body that just picked up breast tissue. So that's a 1%er. So I'm a 1%er with that one. So now I'm really special. I'm in the odds that are highly, highly rare. I've had surgery. I'm going through chemotherapy now, but I want to raise awareness on this and also share my story for a couple of reasons. I think it's really important for people that are going through this to know that they're not alone. And I also think it's important for people to be able to understand, what it's like from my perspective. Not saying anything's going to happen to me, but I feel like having this kind of digital journal, vlog, whatever you want to call it, is important to me because I'm getting so much support, and a lot of it's coming from the wrestling community. And these are people, they're fans, they're wrestlers, they're people that I've known for upwards of 20 years that are coming out and being able to be supportive. And to me, that means the world. So yes, this is a tough fight. I would say some of my matches may have been harder, but it's something that I'm willing to go up against. I've already finished 2 chemo infusions. I just posted today, yes, although I have hair right now, I did have hair loss from it because the chemo I'm receiving is something called the Red Devil, which is the oldest, harshest FDA-approved chemotherapy there is out there because of the rarity and type of cancer it is. So it's that balance, right, to make sure that I'm able to save my life and it not spread anywhere else or metastasize. We're just going to blast it all out. And then I'll be able to hopefully, I will be able to ring that bell like a good ref saying, ring the bell. And then 1, 2, 3, this thing out of me by summer. But it's going to be a long journey. But I'm continuing to work. I'm continuing to be positive. I'm continuing to reel in my supports. And there are even a lot of ladies in wrestling and other people in wrestling that have been really supportive to me. And I've named a lot of them already. If you know who you are. But I'm just fortunate to have such a big support network because I am home a lot now. Because, my white blood cell count is dropping. I have to be very careful of whom around. My immunity is very low. So it's good to have, it feels like family again.
that's good to hear that people are like embracing and surrounding you with love and support. Like, as I said, Dudes at Ringside Podcast is in your corner. Definitely 100%. If you want to tag, like, collab with me in any of your posts, I'll definitely, like, I know the Ringside crew will definitely be in your corner and be like,
Woo!
cheer it on, girl, fight this fight. So do you have anywhere that the fans want to help you and help you support, like anything with you, donations or anything? Are you doing that stuff yet?
So as of right now, my Instagram, which is Alicia Did It Again. So at Alicia Did It Again. That's the main resource to go to right now. I'm going to have to need a GoFundMe later down the line. But if you want to stay posted and stay updated, just follow my Instagram. That's the best way to do it. Maybe possibly collaborating with some of my really dear friends to have some type of YouTube resource, but a GoFundMe is along the way. But I do have a wish list, a chemo wish list up, which just has small things that I need for along the way that I know I need now. Of course, we don't know how much the costs are going to be. I have United Healthcare, not to get into a whole nother realm, but I have United Healthcare. So I have to wait and see what this ends up being, but it will be something and there will be a GoFundMe. It's just not there yet. But stay tuned. And it's right here. Am I pointing at the right thing? Alicia Did It at Alicia Did It Again. There it is.
Yes. Wait, the other way. Wait.
Point right.
Yeah, there you go.
Right over there.
Yes. In that vicinity. I can't stand the reversal thing. I'm like, whenever I do the end of my show, I always point at my guest and I'm pointing at I'm really pointing at my wall in my bedroom. I look like, what's his name? Look like I'm petting your hair. Oh. No petting, Joe.
No petting. And shout out to Issa, who was up here before putting up the DR flag. Listen, my favorite food in the world is mofongo, so I just wanted to say that.
I'm half Puerto Rican, so rice and beans are in my DNA. So
I'm Italian. Rice and beans is in my DNA somehow.
We were just in Christmas season, so the pasteles are still in the fridge, in the freezer. It's like sealed, like ready to rock. But whenever my mom's like, we need to have meat, we have a nice dinner, pasteles, rice and beans. Boom. Yeah.
Send them over.
Gotta come to PA when I'm feeling a little better. I'm like, come over.
Yeah. Listen, my sister's out there, so come through.
That'd be hilarious if she knows me. She's like, oh my God, I know Joe. No. It's about that podcast all the time. And then you just go, let her get everything out and be like, girl, you know I was on that podcast, right? That's how you get them. Like,
then send her the link.
It? You need to watch my episode now. Yeah. I know you're not in the game anymore, but do you still attend independent wrestling shows?
So I go when I can, and it's a very selective group that I would go to. So I was going to WrestlePro a lot. I'm a big supporter of Kevin Matthews. Shout out to Kevin Matthews. We've had a good long-standing friendship for a good long time, and he's always been good to me. So was attending there, and to always see my friends whenever they're in the area. So if there was at the time of Jay Lethal, I would like hop over to a show and go over to see it when he'd be on the indies. When Eddie Kingston gets better, I'll be at an indie show, near us. But typically I stay within like the New Jersey, New York area. I wouldn't venture out that much further. I know that there's like those death matches and GCW and all that, but right now, with the way my immune system is, I'm sorry, Danny DeMonto, I'm not heading out there, but I would love to continue to go to more indie shows when I'm feeling better, because it's always good to see people, and you always see people that and then there's some people that are like, oh my God, it's so good to finally meet you. And I'm like, how do you even remember me? It's been so long. And that's always a good feeling too, but locker rooms are like home.
Yeah. It's something that if a younger wrestler recognizes you, do you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm relevant again? Or do you know that you're already relevant without even thinking about it?
It's a little bit of both. it's a little bit of both. So it's like, oh my God. Well, first I'm shocked, especially because listen, I'm no spring chicken anymore. Not that I'm old, because I'm not old. And I get reminded every time I get treatment that I'm so young. And I love to hear that. But it's a shock to me that people would still remember, because it's been so long since I was really, truly active in the game. And it's very flattering. And I get remembered a lot in a lot of different ways for different things. And it always means so much to me. And also, even at I'm going to a certain hospital, and they were like, "You wrestled," and I was like, "How do you know that? It's not even under my like legal name. How do you know?" So it's always cool when people ask me, and I still get recognized a lot of the time. I guess my look hasn't changed that much, and my mouth doesn't change, so I always sound the same and keep talking. So what are you gonna do about that?
Did you ever think of just like getting your promo picture and just printing them up and having them in your car just in case? If fans want an autograph?
I did that for so long. But I'm willing to do it again. I've been thinking of doing that kind of just for something new to have and have some options, because people have been asking, which is also shocking to me, but it's a nice surprise. So promo shots may be coming. You may be getting, photos of me from back in the day, or photos of me from Jamaica this past summer. Who knows?
Never know. So, in closing, Alicia, if my fans want to follow you on social media and follow your journey, how can they find the page?
You would go to Instagram. That's my main resource. And then if I point right underneath my name here somewhere, it has @Alicia did it again. And that's where you can follow me. Follow me, message me, say hello. I'm always going to interact. And you'll be able to see my journey there, and then continue to see, more resources. I don't know where this is going to go. I'd like to continue growing this awareness in conjunction with wrestling too, because there are a lot of women who watch wrestling. There are a lot of women in wrestling. And oh, hey, Fallon. Does this count? Yes, this is now 1,000,001, because now it's a new year. Just follow me, and you'll be able to see my journey and see where it goes. I would love to end up, raising awareness for this type of cancer. Thanks. I could use those new pics rocking the wigs. Actually, it's a great idea. Photo shoot if anyone wants to do an LMK. But I'd love to grow this awareness onto a larger scale. So even outside of wrestling, even bringing wrestling and breast cancer kind of together and wrapping it up in a package and bringing it to wherever it may go, So
I know a promotion you could always approach. I know they're in Pennsylvania, but PPW in Slatington, PA, you could always approach them, see if they would want to do a show for you.
Okay, yeah, definitely could do that.
PPW is?
I've heard of PPW. I have a recollection of it. I don't think I've ever been to one of their shows.
Their shows are fun. They're out of Slatington, PA. Paul Bowe is one of the promoters. Sweet man. Such a nice guy. He's funny.
There's also Bell to Bell.
Yeah, I love Bell to Bell.
Throwback Missy Sampson. Missy Sampson used to stay over my house every weekend and say she was my sister, and my parents would buy her bagels. So that would be not a bad idea. And then also we're going to have a Matter of Pride one for Breast Cancer Awareness Month with dudes in drag.
Well, you're gonna laugh. She was on Dudes at Ringside last year too.
I watched it.
Yeah, you watched that one? And I screwed the name up. I said Bella to Bell. I was like, Bella to Bell. She's like, it's Bell to Bell.
She said we can call it B2B, and then that's acceptable. So B2B it is. She said it in that interview. I just recently watched it. But I think that there's a good network of people out there that would be willing to help and, continue spreading this awareness, and we can all come together and, I don't know, make a documentary, make a movie, find a network. You never know. I'm dreaming big, Joe. There's a lot, once I got hit with this diagnosis, it's like the world is yours. So let's take it.
Just before we go, Alicia, just keep your head up, keep strong, keep that beautiful smile. If there's any young aspiring male, female, they want to become a professional wrestler, what kind of advice would you give them?
make relationships, network, keep people in your corner, and be open to listening to feedback if someone's going to give it to you. Even if you take it with a grain of salt, just listen, because you never know who's watching. You never know who will see you. You never know who's your match is going to get in the hands of that might be able to help you make it or break it. So just make sure you build those relationships and treat it like it's your business, because it's your brand and you can go really, really far. I've seen people go really far just by having great attitudes, listening, and just sticking to it.
Awesome. Alicia, I want to thank you so much for helping me open season 4 of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside. I am Joe Panther III.
I am Alicia.
And we will catch you in the next one.